did need to confirm the numbers since they are almost identical today. So House Bill 2716 permits a person with a disability to be issued one special license plate for each vehicle owned, registered, and operated by such person. So the bill amends KSA 8-1, which is a statute that provides procedures and requirements for the issuance of special license plates and placards for persons with a disability or those responsible for the transportation of such persons. Current law in that statute provides that upon submitting satisfactory proof to the Director of Vehicles that such person's disability, condition, or impairment is permanent in nature, then the person can be issued either a permanent placard and special license plate, or a permanent placard and wheelchair emblem decal for a distinctive license plate. The special license plates we're talking about here are the ones with the international symbol of access to the physically disabled. So further, in subsection B of that statute, current law provides that no person shall be issued more than one special license plate, except for agencies or businesses with vehicles that provide transportation for persons with a disability. So what the bill would do is add a new subsection H. You can find that on page 3 at the top of the bill. It would permit a person with a disability to be issued one special license plate for each vehicle owned, registered, and operated by such person. The person would still need to submit satisfactory proof that the person's disability, condition, or impairment is permanent in nature. And this would not apply. So they could get a special license plate if they are the person who has the disability. Subsection B, the language I referred to, specifies that a person responsible for the transportation of a person with a disability would still only be allowed to have one special license plate. It also wouldn't affect agencies or businesses that provide transportation to persons with a disability. They would still operate as they do under current law. The bill would take effect July 1, 2026. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Chris? Representative Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really fast, is there a max number? So if I have 5 cars, can I put 5 license plates on?
If you own and register the vehicle, you're the person with a disability, then yeah, there isn't a max. It does say the person has to operate the vehicle, so use in some sort of way. But
if they drive it once a year, I can still have that plate on there.
That is not like defined that specifically in the bill.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris? Okay. Seeing none. For everybody else. Do we have a fiscal note in here? Let's see. It's a minimal fiscal note, $9,700 from State General Fund. All right. Our first in-person proponent is Representative Megan Steele. Welcome to the committee, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Thank you for getting here quickly after our time on the floor. And I do stand in support of House Bill 2716. I brought it forward on behalf of a constituent of mine. This bill would make a simple but meaningful correction to current law. Right now, a Kansan with a permanent disability is limited to how many special disability license plates they can receive, regardless of how many vehicles they own and operate. This is not about expanding a program beyond its purpose. This change increases fairness and flexibility for Kansans that are living with disabilities. They may have multiple vehicles for work, for medical care, family responsibilities, and just daily living. House Bill 2716 ensures that once a person has provided proof of permanent disability and paid the appropriate fees, they can receive a disability plate for each vehicle they personally operate. The eligibility standard does not change. This is current law. The verification process does not change. But what changes is that we recognize that real-world circumstances and remove this unnecessary restriction. The bill aligns the statute with the practical realities of transportation while respecting the dignity of those individuals and recognizing that mobility in the 21st century does matter. This bill does not grow government. It does not create a new program or lower standards. It simply ensures that qualified individuals have consistent access to the same accommodations across the vehicles that they depend on. This is a practical common sense update to statute that was first created in 1986. I ask for your support on House Bill 2716 and will stand for questions.
Anybody have any questions for Representative Steele? Representative Delperdang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What was your name again?
Representative Dr. Megan Steele.
Just a curiosity on this, and either you or if the reviser wants to jump in on this bill, is it just regular tags? Does it include antique vehicles or specialty tags or others?
It would only be dealing with the disability license plates.
Right, but I mean, are those available on the other type of tags? Because I
Chris?
thought they are, but I'm not positive.
I know there's a veteran disabled tag, I think.
I don't know if, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this answers the representative's question, but the person can be issued a decal for a distinctive license plate. But yeah, in this case, the special license plates that we're referring to are the ones specifically printed with the wheelchair emblem on them.
Okay, so the ones that require a handicap detail is not included in this bill? Is that the answer?
Sorry, could you ask that one more time, please?
Okay, so we're talking regular tags, you know, with the handicap, but the other type of tags, whether it be antique or specialty or whatever, where you can get a handicap sticker, I believe, that goes on it. Is that included in this bill? If I've got multiple antiques, can I put it on all of them?
So that is part of this statute, but I wouldn't say it's affected by this bill. I'm not totally sure the practice on the decals and whether you can get one for each like antique license plate. I can try and find.
If you could follow up, and then if that is not the case, would that be considered a friendly amendment? Because I do not want to mess this bill up. I'm absolutely 100% for it.
I'm definitely open to amending if it's what it needs to do to ensure that all handicapped citizens are able to be mobile.
Through the car show circuit, I know lots of elderlies that have lots of different ones, and you know they're antique, but do they all have? I hadn't even looked if they've got handicap on some, but not others, and that kind of thing. So I couldn't tell you. So thank you.
Representative Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the difference between a tag that you put on the rear of your vehicle and the ones that are hanging from your rearview mirror? And if there is a difference, what's the difference?
Mr. Chair, Representative, that's a really good question. So right now, the current statute states that someone who has been deemed disabled and has provided proof can get one placard and one license plate. But if they have multiple vehicles, and let's say the placard, gets lost because it's mobile, they only have the one license plate. So this bill doesn't prohibit someone from getting the one placard. The placard's intent, I believe in the original bill, was to, they were allowed to be issued one permanent placard, and they may have an additional permanent placard to be issued to the applicant who has not requested or received a plate. Is the only time they can get more placards. But the placards, they're not attached to the vehicles. They can get lost. They're not being used as an actual true part of the person and their ability to do work in different vehicles.
But I mean, the usage and effect is the same though, correct? I mean, whether it's a metal tag affixed to the rear.
Yes, the placard or the tag, they serve the same.
They will both get you into handicap parking and whatever else, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I would encourage you to ask that question to another conferee that will be here. I believe that conferee would have a better answer to your question than I do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Representative Minnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a little information on that temporary placard. If you have a knee or a hip replacement or something, you with a doctor's certification, you can go to the treasurer's office and get a placard for up to a certain time period. And if you deem you do not need it any longer, you take it back to the treasurer's office and turn it in. That just allows you to park in a handicap space during the time period that you are temporarily having mobility challenges, if that's the correct word. And then after that, you can turn it in and everything's fine. But it's been used many times as a temporary.
Mr. Chair Representative, I did find that spot in the original bill that I was looking for, and the temporary placards have a expiration date of not longer than 6 months from the date of issuance.
Any other questions for Representative Steele? Seeing none, thank you very much, Representative.
Thank you. Thank you, committee.
All right, our next proponent is Kirk Lowell. Kirk, welcome to the committee.
Well, first of all, I owe this committee my most deepest apology. If you look at the cover letter, it's not addressed correctly. It's last year's members. And for some reason on the website, I brought up it. So anyway, I'm so sorry. Meg wanted me to have 20 copies here before 10 o'clock. And ever since then, I've been looking in this Capitol building for a hole to crawl in, but I haven't found one yet.
Don't sweat it. You know, I do the same thing. I'll get on that deal and it'll be last session and yeah, it happens to all of us. Anyway.
Well, I put the letter together about 4 or 5 weeks ago and waiting for this, So anyway, Chairman Francis, Vice Chairman Essex, Ranking Minority Member Helgerson, committee members, committee staff, audience, and also Meg, it's been so good to work with you as committee assistant. You've just been great. I want to thank you first for serving Kansas citizens on the House Committee on Transportation. Your public service is valuable to the future of Kansas communities. And I've enjoyed these questions that have come up, so that's telling me you have some interest in this. Just a little bit about me. I'm from Wamego, Kansas. I'm a 5th generation lifelong resident of Kansas. I'm retired, and I'm not very good at negotiating the internet for information, as we can see from today. However, there's more about me. Exhibit A of the testimony, if you desire to know background. I don't think it's important, but sometimes you want to know who's before you, so I have a little bit about me. You don't need to fully read the 9-page testimony I submitted to you. Rather, that is for your reference. If you desire further details, my 3-page cover letter is a good summary, and thank goodness I didn't try to use AI to do that, or it'd be all messed up. So anyway, that 3-page cover letter really provides the essence of what I'm here to talk about today concerning HB 2716. KSA 8-1, 125 does not allow a person with a disability to have a permanent disability special license plate for more than one motor vehicle owned by such person. You know, sometimes a regulation misinterprets the law, but this is not the case with this statute, because the statute specifically states, quote, "No person shall be issued more than one special license plate." And then it goes on about agencies and businesses can. So back in the 80s or 87, there was a thought by the legislature to limit that, and they specifically did that, and I don't know why. So, however, agencies and businesses which provide public transportation for persons with disability as a service, they can have multiple plates, and that makes sense. Rather, such a person may have a maximum of 2 permanent disability parking placards, but not 2 or more plates, which the law conflicts just a little bit. This system is cumbersome for the person with a disability who owns and drives multiple motor vehicles, especially when the disability is deemed permanent. One example among many others of this burdensome regulation is a family who has a child with a disability and transports that child using different vehicles owned by the family. And you can go on and on about why it makes sense. HB 2716 amends KSA 8-1, 125 to allow a person with a disability to have a plate for each motor vehicle such person owns, registers, and operates. And I think that's important language in the bill. They must own it, register it, and operate it. And you might say, why should we do this? And here's a few thoughts. A plate on each motor vehicle owned by a person with a disability is less cumbersome than a placard. Per state guidelines, a placard must constantly be hung on the rearview mirror when parking and then must be removed from the mirror when driving. That's the law. And let's see here somewhere. I brought an example here. I'll let you pass this around. That's a placard for me where I have a permanent disability, and I've probably got that traded in and fixed, but I got to drive 40 minutes to Westmoreland. So I haven't done that yet, but I'm sure I can get a new one. And continuing on why, plates are a permanent part of the vehicle's registration and are universally accepted in all 50 states. However, placards are portable and are directly linked to the person with a disability. Some states have stricter rules regarding placard use by non-residents. This answers your question. The plate is more transportable across state lines by law enforcement and local law enforcement, local ordinance. So, but the placard's also recognized, but as I said, some states have much stricter rules regarding placard use by non-residents. So I hope that maybe helps with your question. And if you have a question as I go, just jump in. I'm more willing to answer it. Then there's the temporary placards versus permanent placards. The temporary placards are red, and I believe a representative mentioned that, are issued to a person with a temporary disability that causes mobility problems. Temporary mobility issues are, but not limited to, broken limbs, surgery recovery, temporary pregnancy-related issues, and other things like that. And as you said earlier, they're valid for 6 months from the date of issuance. Licensed professionals may certify a shorter duration based on this specific condition. Disability that persists beyond 6 months, a new application must be submitted by a licensed provider. So that person would have to be reevaluated. Because of the temporary nature of this disability parking permit, there currently seems to be no issues with the temporary placard. Therefore, it's not a subject for possible amendments in HB 2017. So I don't see a temporary placard ever looking like this or, being an issue within a 6-month period. A permanent placard is blue in color, is issued to a person with a permanent disability. This placard type is a subject for discussion in HB 2716. The need for the permanent placard, I need to say that HB 2716 also maintains current state law that such person with a disability continues to be issued a permanent placard with their plate. And that's important because that placard has mobility. Sometimes family members, friends, Others will use their vehicle to transport a person with a disability to a healthcare provider, community event, etc. Occasionally, a person with a disability uses a loaner or rental car when their vehicle with a plate affixed is unavailable, such as when the vehicle is being worked on or just not available. So the mobility of that placard greatly helps with that. That mobility allows a loaner or rental vehicle without a plate that is transporting a person with a disability to park in a designated disability parking area. In a nutshell, it's important to maintain issuing a placard, a permanent placard with a plate. I think the bill does that, but I'm not an attorney. It appears to, but I'd appreciate it if the committee makes sure that it does. Disability parking permit usage, placard or plate is only valid for parking in disability designated parking areas when the person with the disability is present in the vehicle. So, and state law is, when I get to penalty, is very firm on this. In other words, if you put this plate on 2 or 3 of your cars and your wife, who's not disabled, thinks she's going to take it and park in a stall, she might get away with it, she might not, but I'll talk about the penalties later. A person with a disability must also be in possession of their state-issued identification card, which is a little state-issued card I got to carry in my billfold, has my placard number and all this. Now, since I've had issuance, I've never had anybody question me, but it could happen. KSA 8-1,126 provides that persons with disabilities having a valid plate or placard may also park at parking meters for a period of time not to exceed 24 hours and are exempt from any parking fees of the state or any city, county, or other political subdivisions. I did not know this. I found this when I was, and I probably could have used it when I was circling the Capitol today, but I went over to the Supreme Court parking. Penalty. Pursuant to KSA 8-1,130, falsely using disability parking privileges is specifically addressed by the state and results in a $100 to $300 fine. Also, pursuant to KSA 21-6611 and KSA 8-1,130, any person who willfully and falsely represents themselves as having the qualifications to first obtain a disabled identification card and related placard or plate shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor. Any person who falsely utilizes any disability parking privilege shall be guilty of an unclassified misdemeanor punishable by fines not exceeding $500. One statute says 100 to 300, another one says up to 500. So violators may also be subject to additional penalties were imposed by local ordinance. With the level of penalties in place, people without disabilities abusing the disability parking privileges provided by a plate on multiple vehicles owned by that person with a disability is predicted to be minimal. So I don't think it'll be abused, but you know your laws and humans, if they can figure out a way to break a rule or a law or whatever, they figure it out. The fiscal impact, I believe you have that now. I was saying here in my testimony that I believe that was going to be minimal because you have your publishing costs and those types of things to update the statute. And also the disability permit, the electronic application form is electronic. My doctor's office printed it off from the website when I filled mine out. And you can also go online, thank you state, and fill it out electronically and submit to your county. So in closing, accessible parking for a person with a disability is not a matter of convenience. It is a fundamental requirement for equal participation in our Kansas way of life. By ensuring that disability special license plates are available for multiple vehicles owned by a person with a disability, the state is upholding the basic principles of the Americans with a Disability Act. I'm very thankful that you're willing to work in a bipartisan manner for all people with a disability in this great state of Kansas. By supporting House Bill 2716, you are making life just a little bit easier, less burdensome, and more convenient for a person with a challenging disability. And that's just a nice thing to do. And I stand for questions, comments, concerns.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lau? Representative Brunk.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. As I read through the bill, that section H that you were referring to, that if anybody owns, operates, or registers a vehicle, in another part of the testimony, we were talking about children with a disability. So, example, a daughter's born with spina bifida, and so we would transfer her back and forth depending on who picked her up from school. So we'd have different vehicles. But the language here says that owns the vehicle, registers the vehicle, and operates the vehicle. A daughter would never operate that she does now. She operates a vehicle, but not then. So how does this work then for parents that may have multiple vehicles that are towing your child around from place to place?
Well, it was our thought, that's what we were trying to do. As I said earlier in my testimony, that was an example of parents trying to transport children. And like you said, you know, you both work and maybe one can pick up one day and one the other. The placard solves that problem, as you probably used. But having a plate on each vehicle is just so much more convenient for the parents. You don't have to worry about your placard, and if you forgot it somewhere or if it's in the other car, you've got a plate on your vehicle. You're transporting somebody in your family that's handicapped. I think this bill accomplishes that, but the result advisors and your attorneys would, but I think that's a very good point.
So maybe this is a question for the revisor. As I read this, it says that upon request of the person, a person with a disability, so the person has to have the disability, who submits satisfactory proof to the director of vehicles that such person's disability, conditions, or impairment is permanent in nature as required by subsection A. It goes on, you provide the payment, you pay the fees, that such person with a disability owns, registers, and operates. And so it would have to be a person that would have a driver's license, owns the car, registers the car, and operates the car. And so we want to fix this.
Right.
So
And
maybe I'm not understanding the language correctly, but it looks like it would preclude parents of a child that's towing your child around. Do we need a fix for that?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, you're correct, because I would point you not only subsection H, but in subsection B on page 2, lines 13 through 15. You're referring to someone who's responsible for the transportation of a person with a disability, and they would operate like this statute currently works, where they'd only be allowed to be issued one special license plate. They would still, be able to get placards, again, as current law provides. But you're correct that the new language only applies to the person with a disability and who owns, registers, and operates the vehicle.
So we need a fix to the language then,
If we wanted it to apply in those
you want to
situations.
include parents in that?
I think that's very good thought. And again, I'm not an attorney or legislator, so I was assuming that would happen, but that's something we're trying to get to happen. So thank you for.
That's why I assumed that was the intent. But
Yes.
As I read it, it just didn't look like it read that way.
Yes.
So anyway, thank you.
I honestly struggle a little bit with this because you can get an unlimited number of plates. Is there some kind of rational number that you would be supportive of it being limited to?
Well, I leave that up to you legislators. I don't know what that number would be. You know, many families today have 2 to 3 cars. You know, the teenager, you know, gets a car and she's, you know, of course, she can use a placard, but if she's going to pick up her handicapped brother or sister, I just think the plates are so much easier and than the play. So you might consider, and I hadn't thought about your, you know, antique cars and that type of thing. And the answer on your question is yes, there's a decal that you can get for those kind of plates. So I leave that up to you, Mr. Chairman, for you guys to cuss and discuss and pull and tug and try to come up with a number. I just don't see a lot of people with handicaps or that have disabilities having a huge number of vehicles. But
Well, you know, it's just like in my family. My father is handicapped and can't drive, and, you know, there's 3 of us in our family that, for different reasons, haul him around. But I
right,
also, when they originally set this number, they were worried about abuse and fraud. You know, I mean, I know we get frustrated sometimes when we go to Walmart and there's 20, there's 20 handicaps and nobody's parking in them. But if everybody remembers, a number of years ago, I think we changed the veterans disabled plate because
oh,
veterans disability was somewhat easy to get. And when you went to the VA hospital, the guys that really had an issue couldn't find a parking spot.
yes,
And, you know, that's part of the back and forth. And I mean, that is a real life issue that we had at the veterans hospitals at one time.
mhm.
So,
And I could understand why. And if you're going to have a number, see, the other thing in the bill is that agencies and businesses, there's no limit on plates. So if you're going to look at doing that, you might want to look at something there, you know, just to be equitable. But I don't know. I think this body can discuss that and figure out what's a good number.
well, and I think some of that applies, like we have senior citizens groups that maybe have 2 or 3 buses and maybe hospitals.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, out in churches that
Yeah.
transport the disabled and that's what those plates are for. But I don't know. I don't think it will be abused, but like I said, you know, humans
We do.
tend to think, oh boy.
Yeah. And like I say, we live with the placards for my dad, you know, but I do know sometimes just having 2 placards is a hassle.
Yeah.
And I know about that thing. They warned me that I can get a ticket for leaving that thing from my windshield. I almost need to change that law, you know, where you can hang that thing from the,
Well,
while you're driving.
I'm understanding that I could be wrong, but I'm understanding that that's not in a statute, rather it's a regulation guideline. Now, I could be wrong, and you may want to research that. But
Oh,
it
I
says
think we
right,
got somebody back there in the back. Lieutenant Wise, do you know the law on that? I've been told I can get a ticket for letting that thing hang
yeah,
there.
it says right on the top of it, remove before driving vehicle. And I did have an officer nicely remind me once because I forgot to take it down. And that happens. But I think the plates will be a very positive thing. And the other thing, I think the plates will be abused less than the placards because the plate's on the car of the person that owns or has the disability. But I could be thinking wrong on that. Here, I got it.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Lau? Representative Delperdin.
Just a curiosity question. Today, is there a charge from the Department of Revenue for the placard or the license plate itself?
No. The only charge there is they give you the plate, but if you want a reflective plate, there's a 50-cent charge if you want the reflective.
Okay.
But currently, there's no charge for the universal international emblem on the plate.
Okay.
They just, when they issue your plate, they'll give you that instead of a regular state plate.
And I know they print them now, so there's probably minimal charge from a fiscal note on it, so.
I don't know. What is the fiscal note? Pardon me?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have $9,700 for various administrative documents, systems changes, development.
Now, is that an annual or is that just a one-time cost?
It looks like it happens one time to get the systems updated.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't remember what they charge on the hanging thing. My dad just got his renewed, a couple of years ago, but I don't remember. It wasn't very much. But any other questions for Mr. Lau? Don't want to cut anybody off. All right, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for letting me come before you.
Sure. Zach, did you guys have testimony on this? Okay. All right. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Do we have any opponent testimony? Any neutral testimony? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on House Bill 2716. And now we will move on to House Bill 2617. I'll open that hearing. Chris, could you give us an overview?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, House Bill 2617 provides that motorcycle license plates shall contain a combination of not fewer than 6 letters or numerals. So the bill would amend 3 statutes, KSA 8-132, which statute that provides for general issuance of license plates and specifically design requirements for personalized license plates. Section 2 amends KSA 8-147, which provides, again, for kind of the general manufacture of all license plates and the design for all license plates unless it's otherwise specified in law. And then Section 3 would amend KSA 8-172, which is a statute that provides requirements, design requirements for antique license plates. So in current law, under all 3 statutes, the specifications for motorcycle license plate designs are either silent, as is the case in KSA 8-147, or it specifies that the Division of Vehicles is required to design motorcycle license plates that contain a combination of not more than 5 letters or numerals. So that's contained in 8-132 and 8-172. So what the bill would do is modify or add to those relevant provisions to require the division to design a motorcycle license plate that contains a combination of not fewer than 6 letters or numerals. The bill would take effect July 1, 2026. And Mr. Chair, if I may, I do have a couple technical amendments that, with the committee's allowance, I appreciate adopting if the committee does work the bill. It's probably more information than you need, but I had some back and forth with our proofing department on the usage of numbers versus numerals. I lost. Numerals is what it should have been changed to technically. 8-132 uses numbers. The others use numerals. Just wanted those to match because they're talking about the same thing. So there's some cleanup that I want to do to just get that technicals change made. So thank you.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Chris? Representative Delperdang.
Thank you, Chair. Do you have any numbers as far as how many motorcycles currently registered in the state?
I wouldn't have those numbers.
Okay,
bet
so I
you
assume
can
we're
find
doing
out.
this because we're running out of numbers though. But
I'll let one of the other conferees speak to that. I believe it's just because right now 5 letters or numerals is the only possible combination for motorcycle license plates.
Any other questions for Chris? And Joe, you're going to find out how many motorcycles we have. And then, if you can drill down and tell how many of them have vanity and personalized. You don't have to, just, that's fine. Anything else for Chris? All right, thank you very much, Chris. All right, everybody will look at the fiscal note. It's about $15,400 for updating some stuff. And our first conferee is Tom Hanovan, private citizen. Is Tom online? Tommy, is that? Welcome to the committee, Tom.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. I live in Colby, Kansas, and I'm kind of the proponent that kind of got this started on adding a digit to the license plates, to the motorcycle license plates. And I'm kind of looking at this from a vanity plate standpoint. The vanity plates allow the owner of the motorcycle to get a little bit more creative with what he would like to have on the motorcycle plate. And with only 5 digits, I will use the term digits available, that you're a little bit constricted on that. And I think if you were able to add at least another digit and actually possibly 2 more, then that would be maybe a selling point for the motorcycle community of Kansas to want to purchase some vanity plates and might add a few more dollars to the coffers. I don't know if the state of Kansas is running out of numbers, but if they were to run out of numbers, adding another digit to the plate, or even 2 for that matter. By the way, I'm only asking for 1 myself, but if they'd add another 1 or 2, that would make things a little more creative and perhaps could sell some plates. I have before me a standard issued license plate off of my motorcycle. I hope you can see this. As you can see, the 5 digits are pretty much centered on the plate. If you will look to either side of the black lettering, there's about 1.5 inches from the edge of the lettering out to the blue marker on each side of the plate. The numbers or digits themselves are approximately 1/2 inch at their widest point on the bottom, with about 3/16 of an inch between each digit. Having said that, we need about 7/8 of an inch to put a space and a digit in on the tag. With about 1.5 inches on either side, we should be able to easily add 2 if so desired. I don't know if 2 is necessary or not, but there is room, as you can see, to add 2 digits to it. And there's room for the month and date sticker, the decal down at the bottom. This sticker up here goes to your county registration abbreviation. That is actually printed to the plate, so I'm assuming that would stay where it always is. I have done a little bit of research myself. These license plates, the standard Kansas license plate is 4 inches by 7 inches. There are a number of states that already allow at least 6 digits on their license plate. This is somewhat of a standardized plate. Everybody uses this plate as far as I know, this size. It fits on your motorcycle quite well and it looks real good. Some states, well, 7. I'm not sure, I didn't research all the states, but I do know that Nebraska, Missouri, and Colorado do allow 6 digits on their plates. I think in the long run, if this is allowed to put extra digits on the plates, that in the long run, it might actually help the Transportation Committee when they're getting ready to sequence their numbers for the license plates, that this law is already in effect, and if they needed to add digits, it wouldn't be that hard to do. That's really about all I have to say on this issue. Like I said, this is more of a personal thing for me on wanting a vanity plate. I'd like to put a vanity plate on my motorcycle, but I need 6 digits. And I'm pretty sure that the cost of printing these license plates, printing an extra digit on it, cannot be very much. I don't know what the process is or how it works, but it seems minimal to me. And from my point of view, I really don't see much of a downside to this. So anyway, in closing, I thank you for your time and your consideration, and I would appreciate your support for House Bill number 2617. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony, Tom. And I just got to ask, what do you want to put on your plate?
Well,
Tell us.
this has nothing to do with Oklahoma or Nebraska, but I'd like to put Big Red on there, and it has to do with my motorcycle being big and my motorcycle being red.
All right. I just had to ask.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hanovan? Representative Minix.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom, I think you're looking right at a red motorcycle and your representative rides a horse in a Ford, a blue Ford, as a matter of fact. So I think you're very fortunate that he's helping you with this.
Thank you very much for your testimony, sir. Representative Smith, were you going to testify on this? You're just here for moral support? Okay. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Seeing none, we have one neutral conferee, Zach Denny with the K-Door. Welcome to the committee, Zach.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Zach Denny, Director of Government Affairs with the Kansas Department of Revenue. We are neutral on the bill. We do have a few concerns with fitting the letters, the additional characters on the plates. While the previous conferee did show that a standard license plate could fit them, we have many, many license plates in the state of Kansas that cannot. I also brought two visual aids here to show you. This is the City of Topeka license plate. It can only have 5 characters. As you can see, if we were to put another character on here, we'd have to pretty much contact the sponsor and redesign this plate to fit the additional character on this one. This is the Down syndrome awareness plate. This one only has 4. As you can see, the logo, you really can't fit another letter on there or even 2 more. So we'd have to contact this sponsor and help redesign their plate. Obviously, that creates some administrative problems for us, and we don't want to have all these sponsors redesign all their 51 plates currently in production. And just to quickly answer Representative Delberding's question, we are not running out of combinations just yet. One day we will. That's not an issue currently. And I would also just like to highlight at this point for the committee that when we're talking about license plates, the Department of Revenue gets no money when someone purchases a license plate. A motorcycle plate cost us $4.60 to produce, plus another $4.60 for mailing. Department of Revenue collects $0 when someone wants to come in and get a new license plate. That includes any distinctive, personalized, or standard license plates. So I just think it's important for the committee to keep in mind whenever we're discussing a new distinctive plate or any changes to license plates that would require us to reissue plates, that's a cost to the agency that we do not recover. So I just thought that was important to point out. And just one final point I want to make. It's unclear to the department currently whether if this bill were to pass, we would have to reissue all motorcycle plates because they currently only have 4 or 5 characters on them. This bill says not fewer than 6. So if we were to have to reissue all motorcycle license plates to have 6 characters, that would be a pretty significant cost to the agency.
So let me ask a question just real quick then.
Yeah.
You've got some motorcycle plates because of the nature of the design that you only have 4 on.
That's
You have some that are 5. Okay.
Yes.
Representative Hoheisel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that breakdown, Zach. If I'm understanding right, because I know a couple years ago I pushed the Department of Revenue to allow personalization of the distinctive license plates. And we ran into that issue as well because we can't add more characters on the regular license plates because of that logo issue. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then to your point there about, what was it, no less than 6?
Yes, sir.
So that would be a simple wording saying no more than 6. I think alleviates that issue for you guys.
Yeah, that probably would. I still think if we were to put 6 characters on some of these plates, we'd have to contact, like I said, some of these.
No,
sponsors to redesign
those
them.
still
Yeah.
stand. Okay.
But no, that would work as long as if we didn't have to reissue plates because they only have 4 or 5 characters, that would definitely, I mean, the cost to reissue those would be pretty significant.
And Mr. Chair, I will not ask Zach what kind of license plates tow trucks have.
I was prepared for that question, so.
So you're saying if we had some language in there that would say something that you guys could go up to 6, depending upon the design criteria, that really doesn't create a huge problem. Of course, then the treasurers aren't going to know whether it's a 4-digit or a 5-digit or a 6-digit plate.
Yeah, and again, the concern really is that we would have to contact a number of sponsors to redesign the plates. And redesigning a plate is not a simple process. This is a multi-month-long process. Whenever a new distinctive plate is passed by the legislature, we work with the Turnpike Authority, we work with Highway Patrol to approve the plate. So I'm assuming if we had to do it, we'd have to go through that process once again. And I'm not sure how much work that would entail, but I think it would probably be a lot.
So you don't think your fiscal note's right, at 15,000?
I think it's right if we don't have to reissue all the plates, but just the time and then having these sponsors who maybe haven't submitted their, I don't know how old some of these license plates are. These could be, decades old or whatever. Having to redesign that now just to fit more letters or numbers would be something I'm not sure all the sponsors would be in favor of, I guess is how I would put it.
Oh, and I wouldn't look at it that way. I would almost say the ones that are already designed, just stay with 4 or 5, whatever it is, and
Yeah, and that's why we're pretty much
our
neutral on
standard
this
plate,
bill.
maybe, on our standard plate, could we go to 6 without a change? Standard personalized plate?
I think so. It appears so.
Yeah, maybe we don't have to let them have a vanity plate for every single, or personalized plate for every single vanity plate. Maybe we could just do the regular personalized plate if we wanted to accommodate, so.
I think that could work. Yeah, I think we can make that
Yeah,
work. I mean,
major-
the previous conferee did a lot of math about the size of the license plate, and based on what he said, I would assume that it would work. So,
All right. Did you ask your question, Representative Hoheisel? Was it just about the tow truck plate? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Representative Helgerson.
Just to make it clear, I think you said there were 51 license tags that have to be redesigned.
yes, sir.
And in that case, you tell the organization, the sponsoring organization, you have to do it, so they have to incur the expense of the redesign.
The redesign doesn't cost us money necessarily, or it's not the significant cost. I guess it would be, if we had to reissue them, would be the significant cost of paying for new license plates for every single. So the redesign part wouldn't be an issue in terms of cost. More so, it would be an issue for the work it would require for the sponsor and then the department as well. Not saying it can't be done. It would just be I assume, a lot of work for an organization who doesn't typically probably get involved in license plates a lot.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And then I'm going to be frustrated when you're trying to take my highway construction money to make up for that cost, aren't I? Like you're doing this year for all the reissued ones. Representative Brunk.
And maybe you've already mentioned this and I didn't catch it, but if you do have one of those special licensed plates, and if you only have room for 4 characters, can you limit the vanity to 4 characters? So you can have this license plate, but you get 4 characters instead of 6, so you get to be 66% vain.
Yeah, I mean, if we're neutral on this bill, just to highlight out the concerns we have with the current version of it. If the committee chooses to amend it in a way that would allow only certain license plates that could fit the amount of characters that's being requested, we would have no problem with that.
Yeah, so if you have a license plate that has only 4 characters, you can be vain up to 4 characters. If it allows for 5 characters, you can be vain up to 5 characters. I mean, that seems like a simple solution to me, but
Well, I just don't think that's the way the bill currently reads, really.
thank you. It's just an observation.
Representative Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Do veterans' motorcycle plates resemble, or are they the same as car and truck plates?
They're smaller. I think all motorcycle plates are.
I know they're smaller, but I mean, do they look,
Are you talking about the standard plate?
well, a veteran's plate has the eagle, and then I've seen some, well, I know that there's some plates out there that have 3, maybe 4 digits. Is that the way the motorcycle?
I see what you're asking. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look at that.
If you could get back on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Delperdang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we're on House Bill 2617, but I'd almost like to back up to the other bill we just heard. If I've got a motorcycle with a handicap tag, is there enough spaces left for 6 digits?
Again, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look at that. I mean, and if the committee wants to move forward on this bill, we'd be happy to do some work and figure out which license plates could accommodate the 6 digits and which ones couldn't.
But on, yeah, on the motorcycle handicap, is it a bigger sticker or is it just a little one, you know?
Department of Revenue, Mr. Chair, Committee. It would be in proportion to what the digits are on the plate now, or the numerals, as we stated. So whether you also have our friend Highway Patrol in the back, and I do not know how small that print would be where the LPRs will not notice it. Do you by chance? So that is why we send the plates to the KTA, to the KHP, so they can see if they come up on their license plate readers. Because some of these symbols that the sponsors have made, we will have to shrink down considerably to get those 6 numerals upon it. And they very well may interfere in the logo.
That's a good point. I think it's NCIC readers out on like the turnpike. If you get it too small, it may not be able to grab it. That's a very good point. So, thank you.
Any other questions for Zach? All right, seeing none. Do we have any other neutral testimony? Do we have any opponent testimony? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the hearing on House Bill 2617. Committee, we got just a few minutes here that we're going to try to work some bills. First one I want to bring in front of the committee is House Bill 2522. Chris, could you give us an overview?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee House Bill 2522 would permit highway construction maintenance vehicles to display flashing white, amber, and green lights in all road construction zones and flashing white and blue lights in road construction zones under certain conditions. The main portions of the bill amends KSA 8-1731. So as I said, the flashing, rotating, or oscillating, or amber, green, or white lights could be displayed in all construction zones, all times. And the white and blue flashing, rotating, or oscillating lights could be displayed in a road construction zone when the lights are being used at night during the hours between sunset and sunrise, and there are workers present in such road construction zone. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Anybody have any questions for Chris on the bill? Everybody kind of remember it? All right. Are there any amendments? Representative Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment.
Okay.
And if Chris will pass it out, I'll explain it to you. It's really pretty simple. So when Ed Klump, who represents the 3 law enforcement agencies, organizations, I should say, it's on page 2, line 11. It says stationary vehicles engaged in highway construction, crossing out or striking vehicles and putting trailers. So it's not on a vehicle, it's actually on a trailer. And the second change is page 2, line 13. Blue lights, instead of in a road construction zone, it needs to be within the area of and close to traffic. So those are 2 small changes for the Kansas Highway Patrol.
All right, we have Representative Essex has made a motion or an amendment, motion to amend. The second is by Representative Helgerson. You know, I just want to say that this is a crafted amendment between the contractors, the Highway Patrol, and law enforcement. It's my understanding they're all in agreement that this is the language that works best, and they're also and KDOT, I think, was also part of those conversations. And they're all trying to stay within some of this MUTCD guidance. So is there any other discussion on the amendment? Representative Delperding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious on the first bubble where they changed it from vehicles to just trailers, because a lot of times in the construction zones, you've got the truck itself with the flashing. What if there's no trailer attached to it?
Well, the reason is it had to be a stationary vehicle as originally proposed. Law enforcement had some concerns that they would actually be driving the vehicle up and down, and they didn't want the blue light on a moving vehicle.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. I mean, we went back and forth. We had blue, we had white, we had amber. We did not get purple, unfortunately. Yeah, we had green. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, would you like to close on your amendment, Representative?
I close.
All right. You've heard the motion. All those to amend, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion carries. Are there any other amendments to the bill? If not, is there a motion to pass favorably?
Mr. Chair, yes, thank you. I move that we pass out House Bill number 2522 as amended favorably.
Motion is by Representative Essex, second is by Representative Helgerson. Is there any discussion? If not, would you like to close, Representative?
I close.
All right. You've heard the motion to pass out favorably. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Your yes vote recorded? Okay, Representative Hoheisel would like to be recorded as a yes vote. Would anybody else like their yes vote recorded or no vote? Okay. Moving right along, the next bill I would like to take up is the bill close to our ranking minority members' heart, House Bill 2553. Chris, could you give us an overview on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee House Bill 2553, as I'm pulling out my notes, it provides for the PBS license plate, distinctive license plate. The Kansas Public Telecommunications Service would set a royalty fee for the license plate somewhere between $25 and $100, with that royalty payment being credited to a royalty fund for the Kansas Public Telecommunications Service, with payments being made on a monthly basis to them. Usual distinctive license plates requirements would apply to the PBS license plate. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. PBS, Public Broadcasting System, and it's actually just Channel 8 also, isn't in Wichita? Yeah, it's for their benefit. Are there any amendments to the bill? If not, is there a motion to pass favorably? Representative Helgerson?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we pass out House Bill 2553 favorably.
All right, is there a second? The second is by Representative Vaughn. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Representative, would you like to close? All right, you've heard the motion to pass out House Bill 2553 favorably. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion passes. Would anybody like their vote recorded? Representative Vaughn wants recorded as a, what were you, Representative? Weigel as a yes. Anybody else? Ohabisum and Hoy as yeses. Anybody want to be recorded as no? All right, we're moving right along. All right, we've got 19 minutes left. Next bill I'd like to take up is House Bill 2604, if everybody feels comfortable about it. It's a very technical bill. It's the one we heard yesterday with the technical trooper in the room talking about bringing our definition of gross vehicle weights in compliance with what the other states are doing across the nation. And so, Chris, would you please give us an overview of House Bill 2604?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2604 would define classes of commercial motor vehicles for driver's license, or include gross vehicle weight in the definition for classes of commercial motor vehicles for driver's license purposes. Also modifies the definition of commercial motor vehicle and creates definitions for air mile and gross vehicle weight in the Kansas Uniform Commercial Driver's License Act. As I said, the bill would define gross vehicle weight in both of those statutes, so that either gross vehicle weight rating or the gross vehicle weight would be a determining factor for the various classes and groups of vehicles in those statutes as applicable. And I would be happy to answer your questions.
Does anybody have any questions? The hardest thing about this bill is trying to carry it on the floor and explain it as well as that trooper did. Yeah, we're going to let Representative Minix do a quick study on this one. All right, are there any amendments to the bill? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion concerning House Bill 2604? Representative Helgerson,
Move the adoption of the House Bill 2604.
is there a second? Second by Representative Van Houten. Is there any discussion on the bill? Representative Goddard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a question. I just want to thank our Highway Patrol officer that explained all those things yesterday. For someone like me, that's about a one semester course crammed into about 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
He did an exceptional bill. I wish he could carry this thing on the floor. Yeah. Let's all kind of try to stick together on this one when it comes, because it's a little confusing. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, Representative Helgerson? Closed on the motion. You've heard the motion to pass out House Bill 2604 favorably. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, committee. Oh, good. Make sure that doesn't close on me. The next thing we need to do is you should have all received your minutes for January 14th, 15th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 26th. Does anybody have any corrections to any of those minutes? I'm sure everybody read them in detail and have really focused on that. Seeing none, Representative Helgerson.
Move the adoption of the minutes that were mentioned.
All right, is there a second? Second by Representative Essex. Motion by Representative Helgerson. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, tomorrow. Huh? Oh, do you want to close? No. I'm sorry. I didn't think that one required that one, but maybe it did. Would you like to close? We can vote again. All right. Next thing, I want to let everybody know about what we have tomorrow. We've got a bill that says it's HB 2647. I don't want anybody to get wigged out by the title. It says authorizing the Kansas Department of Transportation to establish a statewide fiber system. What it really does is it allows them to put communication ducts in the easement. They don't have certain statutory capabilities right now, and that's what it's all about. And then we've also got a compromise amendment that one of the conferees will be sharing with us. So look at it. At that title, the first time I saw it, I kind of just was going, wait, what are we doing here? The other thing that we have is there's been a lot of conversation throughout the nation about CDLs. We have some abuse of the CDL regulations in the nation, and possibly we have some gaps in our statutes. And it'll be a bill where we'll have a hearing from different conferees and some of the issues that we have on our CDL licenses across the nation. Monday, we will be meeting and we'll clean up any bills that, I decide we want to work and get out. I don't plan on working the CDL bill that I just referenced. It needs some work. We got to really make sure that we're handling that right before we do anything on it. We'll also have a hearing. Representative Riley introduced a bill that would have you only pay your registration fee one time while you own the vehicle, and only pay property taxes, I believe, one time while you own the vehicle. So we'll have that hearing also Monday, or at least that's my intent at the moment. So is there anything else for the committee? If not, we're adjourned.